Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to another episode of Muslimi Meets, where we get a chance to meet fun, interesting, engaging Muslims from all walks of life. And today is no different. We're joined by a special guest all the way from Ottawa, Sheikh Ahmad Kabbara.
Kabbara.
Mashallah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are
It's
you
an honor
doing?
to have you with us. And joined on my left is also Brother Yusuf Fakiri, and we have Sister Ashley Pearson Khan. So look, as a storyteller myself, I can acknowledge the fact that we come from such a beautiful tradition, and it's one that a lot of people sometimes don't understand or realize that even the scholars. You can correct me if I'm wrong. The scholars say 1/3 of the Quran is stories.
Of course, you're right.
Stories. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
SubhanAllah.
teaches us about our religion, our faith through storytelling. Why? Over and over again, when you understand the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, the story of Ibrahim, Musa, you look at all the nations, all the people that came before us. Why is this a mechanism that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses to teach us about ourselves, about this world? As a storyteller, talk to me about that notion. Like, how entrenched is storytelling within Islamic tradition? Is it something that you could say is a part of our faith?
It is a part of our faith, exactly. And it's very important, especially for kids. Now, my focus is on kids
Right.
because it's very important for our kids in this country to have a strong aqidah. If they have the correct aqidah, the right aqidah, at a young age, when they get older and they are teenagers, of course, you will always be worried about your kids,
Right.
but you will be ensured that they have a strong aqidah.
Now, strong
They
foundation.
know strong foundation, exactly. They know the right from the wrong.
Yeah.
And we see that happened. People comes to the kids that, mashallah, you're Muslim, mashallah, we have to go to Jannah.
Yeah.
But they should know that من قتل نفسا بغير نفس كأنما قتل الناس جميعا. If they knew that, would they do what they have done? Of course not, because they had some lack in knowledge. So if we give the kids the strong aqidah, the strong foundation of everything, it's not only one story in a blue moon. It's a foundation. Just like we build a tower, it's not only one block or 10 blocks. It's a long journey.
Yes, 100%. And I mean, of course, as a storyteller, being able to infuse, because a lot of times Muslims think, and this is a generalization, they think about Muslims or Islam that it's very boring, and you go to the khutbah and everybody's, falling asleep, and, but really our tradition is full of storytelling.
Of course.
And it's so immersive. And I know even for myself, like I took one story, for example, the story of Borsisa, which is, for those of you who know Borsisa, it's not a hadith, but we call it one of the stories of the Israeliyat, the people who came before us. And I took that story and I turned it into a film. And I see so many stories I would love to take into films. I would love to take that story and make it a full movie. Is there a story from the Islamic tradition that you could see on the big screen?
Oh, plenty of stories. معجزات الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام.
Okay.
So there's plenty of stories. The story was about the camel who was complaining to the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. The bad treatment that he was getting.
Let's hear the story. I know I've heard the story, but I'd love to, for our viewers as well, inshallah.
Like, long story short, the Prophet ﷺ, he was walking in the roads of Medina, and then one guy came to him, and he told him, like, I have a camel. We used to ride him and to put all our heavy stuff on, like. But now he's being stubborn. تصعب علينا. تصعب علي. And whenever I want to come to him, I would feel like he wants to eat me. So he asked him, where is he? He said, he's over there. So he went. He said, "Oh Prophet, والسلام, don't go. أخاف عليك أن يؤذيك. I'm scared that he might hurt you." He said, "Don't worry." As soon as he opened the door, he came to him and he sajada lah.
Calmed him down.
So he brought something to have it on his neck, and he wanted to bring the camel to the prophet, to the owner, but he started to cry. The camel started to cry, making noises as if he was crying. Subhanallah. And there was like a short dialogue between them. And then he came to the owner. He told them, "You're not treating him well. You're not giving him enough food. You're not giving him enough rest. You're not giving him enough water." He said, "Sadaqta ya Rasulullah." And that's where we tell the kids, you see, he didn't say, "No, I didn't." He told the truth immediately.
SubhanAllah.
And it's very important to emphasize on these things. We have to tell the truth. We should never lie.
Right.
And always when we are dealing with kids, I personally become one of them. You have to become a child so you can talk their language.
Right. Yes. Yes. You want to chime in?
MashaAllah, what a story. And there's so many. There's so many.
There's so many.
You know, Bona, I want to touch on something you and Brother Bona talked about. All too often in the community, we're usually obsessed with the mechanics of the deen, right? I feel like storytelling is one of the main reasons why this deen is such an inclusive deen, and that you have hundreds of languages from hundreds of different cultures that have come, you know, into this deen is because of storytelling. And I think we forget that. My quick question to you, Sheikh, is how important do you think storytelling humanizes our history, you know, our leaders? You know, when you think about that.
Yeah. Many people, and I'm one of them, I don't like reading history.
I love it, but yeah.
Yeah. But stories, it touches anyone.
Yes.
So, you know, there's people who likes to read, there's people who likes to watch movies, there's people like to listen. But when it comes to stories, everybody would be interested to
100%.
to listen, to learn more. So it would have a very important and strong impact on anyone.
Absolutely, it humanizes it.
Yeah.
And especially children, you're building like the base. You're building the base for, because sometimes we have our leaders as abstract. It's a very foreign, like thousands of years ago. But then you talk about the story of Yusuf alayhi salam or Musa alayhi salam. When I heard Yusuf's story and the name, and there was this heaviness, but I was in tears the first time I heard of the story of Yusuf alayhi salam.
His name is Yusuf as well.
So and it's not,
yeah.
no, but like just, you know,
I was telling this story to my daughter a few nights ago.
Right. The story of Yusuf.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm working on now with Sister Hala. She's from Ottawa. And she made a game board. It's called Name That Prophet. And it's all about the prophets.
MashaAllah.
So we're working now on a plan for, inshallah, after Ramadan, to start, it's something like a tour in all the masajid
MashaAllah.
about the prophets.
MashaAllah.
One by one, and we would ask the kids questions about the prophets. It's very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. MashaAllah.
I was just thinking, you know, it helps you remember the stories as well, rather than, because a lot of people are like, oh well, Islam, there's so many rules, all these things that you can't do, and there's these things that you can do, but these stories show you all of the things, you know, they guide you, and they're easy to remember. So I mean, I'm a convert, right? And so it's easier for me to hear these stories too. You know, sometimes I have to learn kind of like children do when they learn their du'as and things like that. And so hearing the stories help you remember, and then it helps you teach others as well. So I think it's such a nice way of learning history, rather than sitting down and like maybe reading a textbook, right? It's not as interesting, and you don't retain that information as well. So the stories help so much, and it's easier to pass down that way. You know, that's why people, you know, memorize the Quran and things like that. So I think it's a beautiful way, and relating to children and having them get excited and learn the deen that way is so nice.
SubhanAllah. I'm glad for you. I'm happy for you. Always, whenever I see someone who's convert, I make dua that I would be one day a reason for someone to convert to Islam, inshallah.
Allahu Akbar. Well, I mean, Sheikh, the work you're doing now, you know, we're talking about keeping our kids Muslim, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of our children now are, you know, like you said, they're in public school, they're in different situations where their faith and their knowledge of Islam is constantly being tested and questioned,
Of course.
right? So I think to create that solid base and foundation
And
is,
to be
is very
proud.
important. To be proud, 100%.
To be proud
Mazboot.
of
Yes.
being Muslim, to be proud of being Ahmad or Muhammad
Allahu
or
Akbar.
Yusuf, to be proud,
Yes,
not to be Mike or Mo, or I'm proud that I'm Ahmad.
yes.
I'm Muslim, and I'll show everyone why I'm proud,
Yes.
and I will make them just say that, mashallah, Ahmad, he's always clean.
Yeah.
He never hurt anyone. Like, just to be a role model.
Yes. What's the upcoming projects you have, Sheikh? You mentioned this the board game. I know you have other plans for Ramadan. What are the other things that you as a storyteller are coming out with next?
I started storytelling 5 years ago, and I started online. I have a YouTube channel on Instagram, Al-Hakawati, the storyteller, Ahmad Kabbara. And the first year, honestly, it's a funny story because I started with a cooking group.
They started with food.
Yeah, and I'm also a chef,
MashaAllah.
so I love food. And anyone who loves food, they have to learn how to cook. So the first year, I have a team of volunteers, and they suggested for us to have something for the upcoming Ramadan. And they said, why not having like a storyteller? But it was a very short notice, and honestly, I wasn't trying to do it myself, so I was looking for someone who can do it, like maybe
Right.
an old man with a very funny accent.
Right.
And we couldn't find anyone, so they told me, why you don't do it? And then we thought about al-amthal, or like al-hazura.
Naam.
It's the riddle, and it's very famous during Ramadan, riddles of Ramadan,
Yeah.
especially in Arabic.
Okay.
And we started this, and it was special because we had to make our own riddles. And the second year it was the riddle with the storyteller. Third year we added Ramadan around the world. So we talk about 30 countries, how they welcome Ramadan,
Right.
what they are their traditions, what they do during Ramadan. And then a story of a proverb, a story of a dish, why it's called like this. So for this Ramadan, inshallah, I have 8 programs.
Okay.
Hopefully you can see it on Muslimi as well.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So, and people want to find out more about your work. Where else can they go? Do you have a website? Do you have any other?
My website is Kabbara, Kabbara.ca,
Okay.
and Instagram, The Storyteller,
MashaAllah.
or Ahmad Kabbara with an A. So Ahmad
Okay.
Kabbara.
Well, we hope everyone checks out your wonderful work, and we hope you
Inshallah.
continue to check out the work we're doing here at Muslimi. Make sure you stay tuned for more amazing interviews here on Muslimi Meets. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.